Welcome to Modern Commentator. Today we will be going over some ideas that my weird little brain had. If, hypothetically speaking, I were to run for some form of Congress in the far future. I'm not saying that I will, because recently I've decided, not a good idea. Not good. Shouldn't do it. So, um, my first piece of the first major piece of legislation I thought I would do if I were to run for a term in Congress would be to attempt to, you know, get out some major legislation stating that it, it would be required for every 145-ish days that every firearm owner in the United States with a legal firearms permit take a mental health test every so or face up to 30 days of community service, which isn't a lot, but that is some appeasement for the people who, yes, want to keep their firearm, but it's only 30 days of community service. It's not taking away your gun, it's giving you a pause on being allowed to purchase another one. And plus, security in your area should ramp up immediately if you fail it miserably. If you fail your mental health test, you have a firearm. Those two things work as well as drugs with firearms. In fact, they, mess up worse, in my opinion. But this piece of legislation should also be met with a hopefully conservative president that would be able to repeal all actions made by a possible administration that gets more firearm um you know legislation that prohibits many things that people should be allowed to use with their firearm. The guns aren't the problem, the mental health is. We need to confirm that these firearm owners don't have poor mental health to limit gun violence in America. Okay. So that was one piece of legislation that I thought of approving if I were to run for Congress. The next the next policy that I thought of approving if I were to run for Congress would be an act stating that all food companies are required to make healthy alternatives for their food if their food is deemed too unhealthy by, let's say, a poll of about 53% of their consumers. Uh, uh, Of course, this would obviously be too radical and too extreme for anybody to put through, and of course, it's broad in its statement, so it's unlikely anything would happen. So I guess I am now gonna spend a few minutes talking about the unhealthiness of food because I spent a long time talking about firearms and the Second Amendment and all that. Um, Food is really not healthy. Food is addictive for most Americans compared to other nations. If we want to be on the world stage and present ourselves like the power that we are, we should be providing healthy alternatives to other people. I understand that capitalism says no to that in saying that that might not be a good idea because capitalism requires it. But I would sit here and tell you that capitalism should not require it. Capitalism should actually, state that you should, provide healthier stuff and try to further heal and advancing the healing of many people in your nation. Capitalism isn't the problem. Capitalism everywhere in the corrupt state that it is currently is. Please, US government, please do not accuse me of being a communist, because the last person you accused of being a communist, his name is Zoran Mamdani, and you guys agreed with him too much every time it comes to the White House. And I personally don't want that. Anyway, I would also get a piece of legislation requiring a congressional overlook on any files related to the JFK, MLK assassinations, and 9/11. Of course, that that piece of legislation would be great and important for our current nation. Currently, many people think that some people, not many, but like some people believe that things that happened were, let's say, connected to a government conspiracy. And of course, not everything from the JFK files was released. People think so. Yes, they released a heck of a ton of it in 2017 during Trump's first term, but it's not really all of it around. It's not. Don't think it is. Anyway, the next piece of legislation that I would think of, wanting is an immediate, swift, yet steady reform in education. This would urge states to swiftly and intelligently change their local and statewide education system to a more of a modern one, because one would fit their area, the truth, and young people. Because currently, this system is supposed to be for a nationwide government system of one that would fit the early 1900s. I hate to break it to the government, but a lot has changed since you guys started trying to end child labor in the United States. A lot has changed, really. Uh, a lot has changed since Woodrow Wilson. A lot has changed since William Howard Taft. Why don't we have our education system change with it, people? I'm not saying this because I'm falling behind in school, though I might be, but still. Education should fit all, not some. Just like how capitalism should fit all, not some. Good segue into the next topic. Tax legislation. I was being too radical. I was too far left a while back. I thought that taxing the rich at a rate 35% more, taxing the top 1% of earners at a rate of 35% more than others was enough. I mean, 25% would do it just as well. And where are they going to move? The U.S. Marshall Islands? Oh, wait. Some of them already have islands outside of the United States that are, avoiding taxes. Even though, they're inside of the United States and they're lying. I'm sounding too much like Bernie Sanders. I should stop and sound like myself. What should I say will be too on Bernie Sanders? Oh yeah. If I if I was in Congress and I were to be giving like press conferences, which some Congress people do, I would urge the president to stop and stop or like continue not doing taxpayer funding and education towards the practice of abortion in the United States. I would make abortion a last and final alternative, not something that you can get instantly like this for not wanting a child, because that shouldn't be like that. And hey, if virtually every single other form of healthcare in the United States is $1 billion, why the heck aren't we making abortion 20 billion? Huh? With the rate of people that want abortions constantly, and most aren't actually for rape, incest, or life of the mother. I mean, what's going on? Those three exceptions should be the only times it happens, but it's not. Okay? Hate to break it to you, leftists, but you're not doing a good thing there. I would expand on many things, of course, to continue the facts being spread around the nation. I would simply urge companies to have non-biased fact checkers, or convince my voters to have ground news, which is not a sponsor of this video, but still, you know, not sponsored, because I'm a small channel and I do not get sponsors. But still, go check out Ground News because they're great. Don't don't subscribe to them because I don't, because spending money to get information shouldn't be like this, but capitalism is I shouldn't say that in America. Capitalism can be wrong sometimes. Um yeah, so that is just some small pieces of legislation that I would fit into my congressional term if I were to run for Congress in the far future, which I won't. Have a great day. Happy almost Mother's Day. And let history keep bringing on for many years to come. Peace.